I'm Rolika Roach, and welcome to the Live Council of Ministers press briefing for today, Wednesday, October 6th, 2021. At this time, I would like to invite the Minister of Education, Culture, Youth and Sport, the Honorable Dr. Anders Rudolph Samuel, to address you. Minister Samuel, you have the floor.
Good morning, Rolika. Thank you. Good morning, CoM. Good morning, PM, colleagues. Good morning to the media and to the people of St. Martin. Yesterday was World Teachers' Day, and I would like to make use of this opportunity at this moment, again, as I did yesterday, to wish the teachers of St. Martin and the world all the best for their day. Having been a teacher myself, I know that it is sometimes challenging, but the contribution that is being made to humanity and also here in St. Martin to our students, I think it is something that we should value and really, really say thank you for. Especially to the teachers, management, and staff that work for the public education of St. Martin, DPE. Many thanks for you, and continue the good works. On Monday, October the 11th, St. Martin will be celebrating Constitutional Day. This event will be a virtual celebration because of the times that we are living in with COVID. The theme for the 11th anniversary of Constitutional Day of St. Martin is entitled Building the Nation, Investing in Our Future. Because of this theme, we will be featuring our youth in various events. Please tune into the government websites and media pages and enjoy our Constitutional Day. Happy Constitutional Day, St. Martin, 2021, most naturally. My next is, I am invited today to join the athletes, coaches, families, and volunteers of Special Olympics as an esteemed delegate at the 2021 Special Olympic Caribbean Sports Ministers Forum to be held this morning at 10 a.m. Eastern Time. This Caribbean Sports Ministers Forum will include ministers of youth and sports, Olympic Committee presidents, civil society leaders, sports celebrities, and industry leaders from countries across the Caribbean to forge greater inclusive development through sports for athletes with intellectual disabilities. This forum will be a powerful platform to discuss the importance of sports in promoting the rights and full participation of athletes with intellectual disabilities and strengthen inclusive development policies and programs. The forum will result in a coalition and resolution for ongoing cooperation to harness the benefits of inclusive sports for full implementation of the United Nations Convention of the Rights of the Person with Disabilities and Sustainable Development Goals. For this reason, I won't be present for questions, and if you do have any questions, you can please send them in writing. I thank you.
Thank you, Minister Samuel, for your opening remarks. At this time, I would like to invite the Minister of Tourism, Economic Affairs, Transport, and Telecommunication, the Honorable Roger Lawrence, to address you. Minister Lawrence, you have the floor.
Thank you, Rolika. Good morning, Prime Minister, colleague ministers, persons listening to various media platforms, and the members of the press that is here today. This past week, we attended Seatrade Cruise Global, the largest industry trade show in the cruise industry. We participated in various panels, various interviews, and the highlight is that we won the We Are Back Award. I believe that award is a representation of our commitment to the industry and a realization of the path forward the country St. Martin will be taking as we start to reposition ourselves as a leading destination in the Caribbean as the #1 destination in the Caribbean. Staying true to the commitment and initiative to fast-track business licenses, our business license department has been working on digitalizing the process to apply for business licenses. Currently, we are in a pilot program. The department is hoping to go live within a few weeks. The intention is to streamline the business license process, and this is an important step, very pertinent step. We are now in the beginning of the stages of the last quarter of the year, and our ports of entry expect to have a good quarter. By the end of the year, airport is expecting to have 2/3 of our pre-COVID numbers. In 2019, we had over 715,000 passenger arrivals. And by the end of this year, we can expect approximately 450,000 passenger arrivals. This week, the airport is planning to hand over the keys to the contractors to start the reconstruction of the airport. That's a positive. Our Canadian airlines are restarting. We welcome Sunwing late September and expect Air Canada, WestJet, and Air Transat in the coming months. We should expect a robust, as I mentioned prior, robust quarter this quarter, barring any COVID disruptions. The port is also expecting to have a rebound in Q4. Based on the cruise ship capacity, we can expect between a minimum of 150,000 passengers to a maximum of 400,000 passengers, which we have been observing a steady increase on the capacity of the ships. I also want to take this moment to congratulate Rosina Romeo for being promoted as the head of both terminals, not only cruise, but also cargo. That in itself is a milestone. Well done. We need to continue to remain optimistic throughout our recovery period. The vision goal is to reposition our island to be a leading destination, the #1 destination in the Caribbean. And I believe you're on the right track. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister Lawrence, for your opening remarks. At this time, I would like to invite the Minister of Justice, the Honorable Anna Richardson, to address you. Minister Richardson, you have the floor.
Good morning, Prime Minister, colleague ministers, members of the press, CoM, Ms. Roach, and the listening and viewing public. Happy belated World Teachers' Day. To all teachers, faculty, and staff of our learning institutions, I say thank you. Congratulations to prison officers, staff, and management as we celebrate Prison Week. By extension, I'd like to congratulate the cooking program at the Point Blanche Prison. I received some photos yesterday that looks like some delicious pizza was being made for inmates by inmates under the leadership of Chef Germain. Congratulations to all and keep up the great and positive work. This past Monday, October 4th, I was joined by Ms. Jondelyn Brown, winner of the Justice Essay Contest. If I were Minister of Justice, I would. Ms. Brown, a Fort Farm student at the Milton Peters College, wrote the winning essay and won the opportunity to spend a day with me as Minister of Justice. She received a tour of the executive offices or cabinets of each minister. She had an opportunity to sit in a meeting that was held between the Ministry of Vromi and Justice regarding matters related to efforts to improve the Point Blanche prison. Later on in the day, we visited the Court of Guardianship, where Ms. Brown was free to have an open discussion with the interim director. During the discussion, Ms. Brown was forthcoming to also give the director some aspects or areas that she believes should be improved or adjusted at the Court of Guardianship. Thereafter, the visit moved on to the Immigration Department, where she received a tour and met the staff that are responsible for processing applications through the various phases. Ms. Brown appeared quite intrigued, and that was the goal. The objective is to stimulate the interest of our youth to pursue careers in justice. Those were only the two departments that Ms. Brown visited because her essay mainly focused on those two specific departments. However, we know justice is a very large ministry, and I'm happy to also state that on that day as well, the KPSM, Chief John, had the opportunity to have his winner spend a day with him at KPSM and experience what the Chief of Police goes through. So congratulations to that winner as well. Unfortunately, I don't have his or her name with me. I'd once again like to congratulate Ms. Jondelyn Brown and the other winners of the essay contest. I'd also like to say thank you to all the participants that expressed their interest in justice by taking part in the essay. The second annual essay contest will be launched in the early part of 2022. God spare our lives, and I look forward to seeing the interest of our students then as well. On September 17th, I traveled to the Netherlands where I met with State Secretary Knops and the Minister of Security and Justice, Ferdinand Grapperhaus. I visited various judicial institutions such as the prisons, safe homes, crisis centers, the campus of the Royal Maréchaussées, the Customs Department. I met with mayors of municipalities and more. Last Friday, my team and I returned from the Netherlands, and I can assure that the visit was mission accomplished. We provided daily press releases. I hope you were able to follow those. If not, I'm inviting you to visit our Facebook pages as well as our official website, www.ministryofjustice.sx, where you can have the opportunity to read all about it. Now we are applying the best practices that we have learned. We have made great connections with partners, departments, faces to names, and the welcome that we received in the Netherlands was really, really great. We now have persons that are very enthusiastic of being assistants and cooperating with St. Martin, and I look forward to us being able to put all these aspects into place. I also look forward to having interministerial workings and discussions with my colleague ministers, specifically ECYS and that of VSA, because I believe that it is imperative that we start to focus a little bit more as well on our preventative measures to avoid our youth especially coming into the justice stream and all others. So in the next couple of weeks, it's going to be quite eventful. All of what we learned, we are going to be applying, making some tweaks and changes here and there, and I look forward to it. I'm available for any questions that the media may have. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Minister Richardson, for your opening remarks. At this time, I would like to invite the Minister of Public Health, Social Development and Labor, the Honorable Omar Otley, to address you. Minister Otley, you have the floor.
Good morning, Relaika. Good morning to the members of the media, the viewing and listening public, my honorable colleagues. As of October 5th, CPS has reported 4,355 confirmed cases of total, which are 3,888 cases are residents, 467 cases were visitors. I repeat, out of 4,355 cases, 3,888 were residents, 467 were visitors. St. Martin is still trending at 13 to 17 cases per day. And since the first detection of COVID on the island, we unfortunately have suffered 68 deaths. The vaccination rate at this moment, 25,994 persons has received their first dose of vaccines. Of that, 25,954 persons are fully vaccinated. This is good. We have a good rate of compliance and people coming back for their second shot. CPS would like to remind the public that you can reach them at 914, and effective October 1st, the hours of operation of 914 has been adjusted Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 5 p.m., and Saturdays, 8 a.m. to 3 p.m. We urge everyone that is interested in being vaccinated, you can do so Monday to Friday at the Vineyard Building. Also, I am happy to announce the Community COVID pop-up, vaccination pop-up, will be at the Benny Scott property on LB Scott Road. This is by the St. Peter's entrance. This will be this Saturday, 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. The poster is displayed for those who would like to know more specifics. Again, it'll be at the Benny Scott property, LB Scott Road at the St. Peter's entrance this Saturday. And I would like to announce this is the one before the last. On the 22nd or 3rd, I have to check, we will do one more pop-up for the month, and that will be the last pop-up. So come out, take advantage, and see you this Saturday. The ministry has also signed off on incidental work instruction. This is very, very important to me, as it is just a year and some days ago that I, in Parliament, passed a motion to protect locals, protect those who has local machineries, and to strengthen our job force. And through the grace of God, I am able to sit in a position that I can actually see my own motion through. This incidental work instruction will help us with large projects whereby they would agree to carry out job fairs per phase, whereby they would agree that the first look would have to be the local market, whereby they agree that if machinery is available on island, is no need to be imported. This is very, very important. And with that being said, we will also shorten the time of work permits granted to these large companies. So it's a give and a take, and I'm happy that we can go in this direction. I look forward to many projects being developed in St. Martin. As we know now, the airport project is one very huge project, and we have received calls yesterday in which we will sit at the table and see how we will implement this incidental work instruction to the airport project as well. Also, next announcement, Community Day. Last month I was scheduled to be in Parliament, so there was no Community Day. So the Community Day will be Friday, October 22nd. This is when members of the community have their opportunities to sit with me, the Minister of VSR, and share ideas. I can hear their grievances, but so far it has been fruitful. It has been mostly ideas, and some of them we have already put in the pipeline to work. We work for you, the people. There may be stuff that we overlook and you are facing, and you can bring it to my attention. And sometimes, even if it's not related to my ministry, I can bring it to the attention of the other ministers who will immediately act on it. For those that are interested, you can make your request at togetherwecanwithotley@gmail.com. That's togetherwecanwithotley@gmail.com. Please be reminded to state your full name and purpose of the meeting. Now, last but not least, I would like to give a heartfelt thank you to Nurse Vaughn and Nurse Williams, as they were the organizers of the Share Your COVID Experience. I am very happy. We will be continuing this. We have many persons that are now willing to share their COVID experiences and hopefully encourage others to follow protocol and also get vaccinated. I look forward to any questions from the media.
Thank you, Minister Otley, for your opening remarks. At this time, I would like to invite the Prime Minister and Minister of General Affairs, the Honorable Silveira Jacobs, to address you. Prime Minister Jacobs, you have the floor.
Thank you, Relaika. Good morning to my colleague ministers, members of the media, people of St. Martin. Thank you for joining us. October is a month for many celebrations, and we're happy, of course, to be out of the peak of the hurricane season. And though we're still in the season, hopefully we will see the scares diminish. We have been truly blessed thus far, and we continue to celebrate that fact. In mentioning the celebrations, as was mentioned by one of my colleagues, I believe Minister Samuel, I wanted to add that on October 1st, we did celebrate also the International Day of Older Persons, where we commended our elderly under the theme Digital Equity for All Ages. And this allows them, we promote them being able to stay in contact and having meaningful participation in this ever-changing digital world. As you know, many of us have to remain a bit separate, especially from the elderly who are most vulnerable, but having them updated on the use of the digital media will allow them to stay in contact, at least visually and by speaking to those they love. Yesterday, October 5th, we were reminded also to appreciate our teachers for their unwavering contribution and helping to foster and grow our future. Of course, the first teachers of our children are parents. So for me, in wishing World Teachers Day yesterday to all, I include parents as the first teachers. You set the tone for the type of learner your child will be. So we pray for teachers who continue to remain at the heart of education recovery, especially seeing the challenges that we have faced over the past year and a half. Rounding off some of the celebrations for this month, there are many. When I checked it out, there are many international days, but indeed, we must recognize and commemorate our Constitution Day coming up on Monday. Of course, 10-10-10 will fall again on Sunday, but we are happy to be able to celebrate, even though virtually, with our youth in building the nation, investing in our future. I also would like to encourage the general public to tune in, participate, but not only that, look into the information within our Constitution yourself. Education is an ongoing process. We are never too old to learn. And I think indeed building lifelong learning on St. Martin is something that we need to focus on as we build this nation. During last week's press briefing on September 29th, I made a statement that raised some eyebrows in the community. And I must say, in retrospect, I allowed my passions to take it further than it was necessary. Maybe if I could give a bit of a background information as a teacher myself and as a former Minister of Education, I had the unfortunate, let's say, experience of seeing very personal and sensitive information published by, at the time, I believe it was an aspiring politician or politician, which divulged psychosocial reports of the educators and the care team members of the schools which I was in charge of. Very sensitive information with names, etc., in there. And that was where I was coming from, in the sense that, yes, it is important to be transparent with the public, with everyone, but not all the gory details of what is being worked on in confidence should be divulged. So it is in no way and means that my statement was made to squash the media or anything of the sort. And if that is how it was perceived, then of course you have my apologies. Indeed, as government, we do have mechanisms in place to deal with any type of leakages that may take place. The LMA clearly subscribes in Article 61, as well as the oath that is sworn and the integrity declaration that is signed as well. So we have also an approved code of conduct, and we are working towards moving with confidential advisors. We understand that within organization, we must have ability for persons to be able to go to persons of trust and find the right ways to have any challenges and issues resolved. Transparency and trust is what this government is working on, and I remain committed to doing so. The civil servants will be given in writing an open call to apply to be persons of confidence, so confidential advisors within each ministry. We were initially looking at just revamping the persons of trust that already existed when we had the Integrity Bureau on St. Martin some years ago. This has, let's say, fallen by the wayside. Trying to reenact that and getting those persons who are already involved back into the saddle, so to speak, has been something we've been doing over the past weeks. However, we think to send out a broader call to get persons who are interested in this function, whereby you will be seen as a person to provide information on your role as well as integrity-related issues to the other employees, providing management with advice and recommendations on integrity within the administrative body, and advising and supporting employees who suspect, have witnessed, or have been a victim of misconduct. Ensuring that the confidentiality of a report of misconduct and the anonymity of the reporter, as well as assisting in and/or encouraging dialogue on possible misconduct. So those are the main tasks of that person. And if you are sending it out now generally, but you will receive this in writing, of course, persons within government who are interested in carrying that function are welcome to, once we receive the letter and the email where you will send your application, that will be dealt with. As part of the confidential advisor, I must also note that we had requested Integrity Chamber assistance to deal with advices we'd received on integrity challenges, and based on their advice, we are moving forward with the confidential advisor suggestion. I also I took part in a quarterly ministerial consultation with the other prime ministers within the kingdom. So all 4 prime ministers were in that meeting on October 4th. This was held virtually. The topics included the third report. It included the UNGA cooperation and bettering our processes, as well as the rules of order of the Kingdom Council of Ministers as related to how we handle our matters and the timeliness with which we receive documents to be handled. The Prime Minister of Aruba hosted the event, and the next event is scheduled to take place, or the next consultation is scheduled to take place in January and will be hosted by St. Martin. One other topic that was of interest also was the ability of the constituent countries within the kingdom to be able to access funding outside of the construct of the kingdom. So that is something that all 3 of us were interested in as well, brought forth by Aruba. I was also paid a courtesy visit on September 30th by the President of the Supreme Court of the Kingdom, Ms. Dineke de Groot. She is the first female to be appointed to this post. It was a kennismakingsgesprek to understand what are some of the challenges. As you know, once appeals move to the next level, that they are dealt with at that level. And we as governments were encouraged through our legislation to ensure that where we deviate from kingdom laws, that we ensure that our memorandum of explanation clearly gives the why and how to avoid that the older regulation is not used. So that is something serious that we'll be taking up with our legislators as well as with Parliament to ensure that all our laws, especially the explanatory section, is clear so that there's no discrepancy if it goes to court. I'd like to encourage the people of St. Martin that as we are moving towards the reopening of St. Martin, that is the goal of everyone, that indeed, following the advice of the Minister of Finance, that we move forward in getting vaccinated. We are still quite far in terms. Minister of Health, did I say finance? It would help our finances too. Indeed, the Minister of Health and his advice to get vaccinated. The pop-ups are extra, but of course, the vaccinations remain available. It is your right, yes, to choose, but indeed, for our general population, it is better that we have as many persons as possible covered. So I encourage you as well to go out, get vaccinated, be safe, and as we celebrate Constitution Day, do come out, do tune in, and be a part of the process. Thank you.
Thank you, Prime Minister Jacobs, for your opening remarks. If you've just joined us, you are watching the live Council of Ministers press briefing for today, Wednesday, October 6, 2021. Thank you for joining us. We now move on to the question and answer session. However, before we begin, I would like to inform that the Minister of Public Housing, Spatial Planning, Environment and Infrastructure, the Honorable Egbert Duran, is present, however, will not be making any opening statements, but is available for any questions the media may have. The floor is open, and I would like to invite Bibi Haj Shah of SMN News. You have the floor.
Good morning, Rolaika. Thank you. Good morning to my colleagues, ministers. My question is a two-part question, and it goes to the Minister of VROMI. Minister Doran, can you give us an update on the appointment and, if possible, replacement of filling of positions on the board of NVGEBE? Minister, can you tell us exactly what is holding up the process, especially in light of what took place in Parliament on Monday? And the other part of my question is, can you give us an update, Minister, on the communication status and the working relationship between your person and the Ombudsman with regards to Vineyard Heights?
Thank you, Bibi, for your question. Good morning, Prime Minister, colleague ministers. members of the media, and a special good morning to the people of St. Martin. With respect to an update on the appointment of board members filling board positions, yesterday a convocation request went out because, based on the articles of incorporation, you send a request to the board. That was not complied with. Now we send out a convocation to have the meeting. So after the 14 days are expired, based on the request to the board, then the Council of Ministers, as shareholder, reserves the right to convene the meeting. So that was sent out yesterday. In regards to the working relationship with the Ombudsman, I'm not too sure what the question is or what I don't know if you can specify so that I can elaborate, because I'm not too sure where you're getting at. Thanks.
Minister, if I remember exactly, about a week ago, you were called to Parliament regarding the letter. You were asked to make an open apology. You were asked to retract the letter. The Ombudsman, of course, in her response, she's asking for her questions. I know the Prime Minister, when I asked her last week, she said those things were retracted and work is in place to get a proper communication and collaboration. I'm asking what's the status of that now, especially with regards to Vineyard Heights.
Okay, I don't want to zoom in on a specific case or anything like that, but as the Prime Minister indicated, which is a factual thing, I did retract the letter. And I also indicated in the letter that I look forward to a fruitful working relationship, more collaborative effort moving forward. In my opinion, that was not the case at the time. However, moving forward, I hope that will take place. I also indicated in my letter that I look forward to having a systemic investigation on the entire process, going back from 2014 to present, so that everything can be clear to the people of St. Martin, because it does concern the people of St. Martin at the end of the day. And I look forward to that taking place. So that is basically the gist of the content of the letter that I sent last. And they also responded in saying that they too agree to do the investigation. So we are all, I guess we're collaborating now to have that done. I'm also doing an investigation internally on from VROMI's end, because as I indicated to the Ombudsman in previous letters, that a lot of information is lacking regarding that case in our government administration. So hopefully at the end of it, we were able to give a full elucidation as to what is taking place. And I'm also returning to Parliament on the 13th of October to answer the questions that can be answered based on the subject matter. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister Duran, and thank you, Bibi, for the question. I would now like to invite Jacqueline Huffman of the Daily Herald. You have the floor.
Good morning, all. Minister Duran, everyone at Beacon Hill is looking at you for answers for various situations. My first question is, when is the boat going to be removed? As there is no owner of the boat, and in 2019, the government issued a permit for mooring to a company that didn't exist for 4 years. Second, the 2 plots that have been cleared on a Saturday and a Friday, did you give permission for a civil works permit for both of these plots? And is there a building permit for condominiums on these plots, one for 12 apartments and the other for 30? Your employees at VROMI sent out emails saying a works permit is not needed because the Chapter 28A is reintroduced in April, but it was actually signed by the government on the 8th of March. So that was before they started to clear the lots. And the third question is...
I'm sorry, I cannot allow the 3 questions. It's 1 question.
It's also at Beacon Hill.
Correct, but it's 1 question per media person. So I would allow the minister to go ahead and have you repeat the question, because he obviously got lost, and then for him to also answer it.
If there were civil works permits issued for the destruction of the house, and if there's building permits issued for the building of condominiums.
Thank you for your question. Ms. Hoffman, with all due respect, this is a Council of Ministers press briefing. You're now asking me specific details on private citizens. I have no idea even what plot of land, of what work you're talking about. Okay, again, I indicate I'm not sure what you're talking about, and I don't think that this is the platform for such. I believe if residents have any concern, we're always open for communication in terms of sending letters. And I believe that's the route that should be explored, whether through the permits department or the inspection department. I have no issue answering, of course, the question on the boat, because that has definitely been something that has been brought forward. At the moment, based on discussions with the NRPB, it seems to be difficult to incorporate that with the current project that is taking place. So we'll have to seek financing to be able to execute that. And as you know, financing is definitely a challenge. Nevertheless, it has our attention. I'm looking forward to a solution as soon as possible. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister Duran, and thank you, Jacqueline, for the question. I would now like to invite Stephen Cerulean of PJD2 Radio. You have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Roach. Prime Minister, good morning, ministers. Good morning to you as well. My question is directed at the Minister of TIAT. International Tourism Day was recently observed, Minister. The Caribbean Tourism Organization held a virtual event at which time many of our tourism Caribbean leaders expressed optimism about the upcoming season. You did that earlier on as well. Can you help us to understand, if you may, as to what's been done from the ministry's perspective to ensure that St. Martin is properly sold on the international market, in that we are able to receive our guests as has been customary?
Thank you for the question. As you know, based on my press release as well, I think I really underscore the importance of propelling this destination forward. And just recently as well, I also underscore the importance in particularly at Sea Trade, whereby we was participating in various panels and various interviews. The reaction of that was very much positive. And Mr. Cerulean, I think we also need to take stock of the award that we won. We are back. And in comparison to many international participation, St. Martin, a 37 square mile island, as some would consider it a dot, won that prestigious award. And I think it would behoove all of us to really have a true understanding of what that means for St. Martin on an international basis. The focus now, and I will say it again, is to reposition this destination to once again be a leading destination in the Caribbean, a #1 destination in the Caribbean. And I think based on the flywheel effect that we are doing, pushing forward, we're heading in the right direction. If you look at the statistics and the numbers that I just highlighted as we go into Q4 of this year, that's a positive thing, very positive thing. And at the end of the day, all of us, each individual of St. Martin needs to be ambassadors for us to truly propel this destination forward. So we have started, and the outcome, I believe, will be very much positive.
Thank you, Minister Lawrence, and thank you, Stephen, for the question. I would now like to invite Rav Kantav of Phillipsburg Broadcasting. You have the floor.
Thank you, Ms. Roach, and good morning to everyone else in the room. I have a question for the Prime Minister, but I'd also like to tell the Prime Minister thank you for your clarification. So basically, there's been several reports in the community of political activity, and even recently there's a new political party that would be on the scene. But my question more so is about the status update on the new board of the Electoral Council, and also are you aware of whether the registered political parties are up to date on reporting their financial reports and or donations or contributions? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kantav. Unfortunately, I don't have that information off the top of my head, and I'll have my staff follow up with you on that.
Thank you, Prime Minister Jacobs, and thank you, Ralph, for the question. I would now like to invite Lyndon Brown of BCN TV. You have the floor.
Good morning to the people of St. Martin and the ministers that are present here today. Question to the Minister of Justice. Minister of Justice, the former prison director are hurting. To hear that his salary being cut. Now, this gentleman have operated prison, a larger prison in the Netherlands, and now he is still under suspect. The court case have been appealed, and 11 times the court case have been postponed, Minister. I'm speaking on the human aspect of this gentleman. He's a family, he has bills to pay, and his salary, why his salary is being cut.
Good morning. Once again, Mr. Brown, if it's one thing that I'm not a proponent of is to discuss persons' personal information publicly. I don't believe that it is ethically correct to do that, although you in yourself have disclosed quite some information even to my person about the matter. But I'm sorry that I cannot engage in details about any employee of the Ministry of Justice matters. I just can't. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister Richardson, and thank you, Lyndon. I would now like to move on to the second round of questions. Members of the media, please note this will be the final round of questions. Bibi Hadshaw, you have the floor.
Thank you, Rulaika. Minister Lawrence, can you tell us how much money the home porting yield St. Martin? Did we touch the 52 million? Or did we exceed the 52 million?
Bibi, I will answer the question brief for now. I will not go into the debate as to the calculus, the prior calculus that was mentioned with regard to the 52 million. But however, I will just educate to a great extent as it relates to statistics. There was a total of 12 calls. On average, each home porting vessel is roughly 2,200 passengers. We had about roughly 18% of that capacity. So if my numbers, or if my maths is correct, that's roughly about 400 passengers per call. And we had a total of 12 calls. Now, if you look at the Bureau report, which I know you're very much familiar with, Bibi, average expenditure per passenger is $150. Yeah? So you can easily calculate 400 passengers per 12 calls and start doing the mathematics. Now, the specialty with home porting to a great extent is that roughly 80% of the passengers, when they fly in, they go directly to the vessel. So you don't have much of a, let's say, a spin-off effect from that standpoint. The remaining who stays here stay roughly 3 days prior and 3 days after. Yeah? So from that standpoint, based on the, let's say, a basic calculation with the airport tax and so forth, you can come around approximation of between $5 to $6 million. Again, I give you some of the statistics there, and I think it will be in your best interest to crunch the numbers as well. But that's my calculus based on just receiving the question now and what I can give you from a basic standpoint. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Minister Lawrence, and thank you, Bibi, for the question. I would now like to invite Jacqueline Huffman. You have the floor.
Minister Otley, the police cells in Philipsburg are overcrowded. They're very filthy. There's people with COVID inside the police cells. They are put together in one cell. How, without any cameras there or 24-hour supervision, is the medical care of these people guaranteed? And also, why do the people that are deported from St. Martin have to pay $70 for a COVID test? Because if people are deported and they cannot pay for their ticket, that they have to pay themselves. $70 is a lot of money, and that will keep them longer in the police cells.
Thank you. The fact of people having COVID in the police cells haven't been reported to me, so you give me information that I will look into because I have not heard it. As far as the deportees paying the $70, everyone pays the $70, deportee or not, local or not. What I can tell you is that the Ministry of VSI and the Ministry of TIAT is working on a testing tariff to adjust and hopefully limit the expense of testing within St. Martin. So that is in the pipeline. But as far as an exemption, that I cannot speak of because everyone pays. If I want to test today, I pay the same $70. So that is what I can touch on it. As far as people having COVID in the cell, I have not gotten that report.
Can I ask you?
Thank you, Minister Otley. I'm sorry, we are pressed for time, so I'd have to continue. That can also be sent in writing to the minister's cabinet thereafter. Stephen Cyrillian, you have the floor.
Thank you, Ms. Roach. And if I may direct my question to the Minister of Justice, you're back from the Netherlands, where you had what you said were fruitful discussions with various departments and all ministries. One, how do you measure success of your meeting, and who formed part of your delegation to the Netherlands?
Oh, thank you. I'll start from the last in terms of who of my delegation was a part of it in the Netherlands, meaning who traveled with me. So my senior policy advisor, Mr. Uishi Romney, policy advisor Tiffany Glasgow, who's also an immigration officer, Mr. Rob Kiewicz-Bosch is the program manager that is assigned to the prison, and his objective of being here with us for the next 14 months has to do with the implementation of the plan of approach that had been developed a few years ago, but stalled in terms of implementation, as well as Ms. Damie Butte, who also has an extensive background in prison. She lived in the Netherlands and also worked in various aspects in the Netherlands in the prison system also. That said, when we were to, how do we measure what was successful about it, is the reception we received at the prisons, the opportunity to be able to forge relationships between prisons, safe homes, youth detention facilities, but by extension to that, having very fruitful discussions with State Secretary Knops as well as my colleague Minister Grapperhaus in explaining what I experienced, what I saw, having an ability to see how we need to tweak the way we do things, and by extension of that, receiving their willingness to support us on that. We are busy drafting a letter to State Secretary Knops as well as Minister Decker as well as Minister Grapperhaus to be able to cement these discussions that we had in the support. I appreciate the fact that when we went to the facility in Almelo, I hope I said that correctly, the prison director there is one of the persons who came to St. Martin after Hurricane Irma and assisted with the development of the plan of approach. So he is well versed with our prison structure. He's well versed with the way we do things, and they are just waiting for the green light, as I said, from the political level to be able to even travel back to St. Martin and help us change certain things. I appreciate the fact that our program manager is in networking with his counterparts in the Netherlands to have a container built to be able to send to St. Martin with certain things that we can use, utilize here at our prison, because if you may know, quite a number of prisons in the Netherlands were closed. And that was very intriguing to me. I wanted to know a little bit more about what steps the Netherlands was taking to be able to achieve such a great aspect where they're able to close facilities. And that has a lot to do with social support that is rendered to the people, the citizens, etc., in the Netherlands. And earlier on, I was just having an off-camera discussion with members of the press and Ms. Roach, for example, and I mentioned that much discussions will be held with my colleague, Minister of VSA as well. And I'm actually going to state it here that I encourage him as well to take a trip to the Netherlands to see and to connect and gain that support while they're in the Netherlands. And I'm sorry if I'm going over, but I'm really excited about everything that I encountered. There were two ladies that were from juvenile support facilities in Bonaire and Seba. And they were going through a training program for 3 weeks. And St. Martin, our presence there opened up the opportunity for the discussion that St. Martin could be included in these types of trainings. What are the possibilities that facilities could be built here in St. Martin with the support of the Netherlands, whereby, youth that are having challenges from Seba and Statia could come right here to St. Martin, be closer to their families, but also St. Martin, we can assist our youth here too. So when we talk about what measure we can take. Just those opportunities of, yes, we'd like St. Martin to be a part of this. We're a part of this kingdom, even though we all have to, manage our own internal affairs. The support is there, and I'm excited about it. So, hope I answered your question. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister Richardson. Thank you, Stephen, for the question. Ralph Cantav, you have the floor.
Thank you, Ms. Roach. And my next question is for the Minister of VSA. And my question for you is, can you basically share how many of the persons who have died had underlying conditions, and not specifically what conditions they may have had, but whether or not they had an illness prior to receiving COVID that may have also led to their death? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Cantav. Actually, I cannot pinpoint everyone, but more than likely, a high percent did have underlying conditions. What the COVID-19 actually did, it exposed the weakness of our community. It exposed many who have high blood pressure, diabetes. Some people didn't know because they don't screen, they don't check up. And that is why the last vaccination drive that we had, it was very important, teaming up with SMMC and the Electrolyte Foundation, where we did screening for prostate and so forth, where over 100 men participated. There were diabetes screening, high blood pressure screening, and many persons, I heard it for myself, young persons, that when they took their pressure, it was high. And they were like, they had no idea, and it opened their eyes. And I think that's what happened to our community. Definitely, we come here every week, every day. I stress on the importance of being vaccinated. I also stress on the importance of protocols. Whether you don't want to be vaccinated, that's your choice, but I stress on protocols. But it is very important for us to now start to build a healthy St. Martin. I think COVID has exposed that, and that is now the direction that the ministry and the government is, in a whole, is starting to go. Promote healthy activity, promote a healthy lifestyle. So, indeed, I cannot disclose the amount of persons that had underlying symptoms, but I can tell you about 90% did.
Thank you, Minister Otley, and thank you, Ralph, for the question. Yes, Minister Otley?
And one more thing, Mr. Cantav, persons as well who have contracted COVID, consider themselves healthy, survive, now have underlying symptoms. So some persons who never had problems exist, they had the COVID, they survived, it wasn't detrimental, but now they suffer from underlying symptoms as well. So the COVID can have that long-term effect on you.
Thank you, Minister Otley. I would now like to invite Lyndon Brown. You have the final question.
Final question to the Prime Minister. Prime Minister, recently it has been surfaced in the community of St. Martin that you are trying to suppress the media. Up to now, Minister, there are freedom of expression and also freedom of the media. Minister, like for instance now, here in our discussion here, like say for instance somebody coming from Sandy Ground, and then they come to this meeting and then there is only one round of question. Now some media personnel are very discouraging. They felt discouraged. Minister, so I want to integrate with you. Do you plan to at least, because like for instance, one minister will speak for 10 minutes, one speak for 5 minutes, and some speak say nothing at all. Do you plan to reshuffle so that it can be balanced? Because some media personnel are discouraged. They refuse to come to the meeting, Minister. So can we have a win-win-win in this session?
Mr. Brown, good morning to you. I thought I was pretty clear in my opening statements. I actually had a lot more prepared, and even though I got in trouble going off the cuff last week, I still went off the cuff today because I think it's important that people know where I came from in terms of the statements that I made. There is no will or need to suppress or censor the press. It is about making information public and setting a standard by which information is shared. That was my goal. I also mentioned during last week's press briefing that mistakes can be made and we can apologize for them and we can grow from them. And I think it is good for the general public to see us as humans and acknowledge, and when we acknowledge our mistakes. As I have this morning, we have, as a Council of Ministers, also, we would like to see our press briefings be more constructive and have value. That would be on both of our sides. We come with information, you as the press come with questions. But honestly, I must say that at times I try to get to the why behind the question. Sharing information, being transparent with government, sharing our policies. We are called to Parliament. We have many opportunities to do that. This is a unique opportunity to get something that is pressing. In the past, I see a question being asked to the minister on a personal matter of a civil servant. The other minister asked about a specific plot of land. It didn't come up to him before, so maybe he doesn't know off the top of her head. So for me, the type of information that is being questioned is also, for me, I'm like, what is the goal of that? For me, we need to raise the bar as a country. I look at not only the press briefings, I look at Parliament and the types of questions that are asked there and the statements that are made there. And while I acknowledge and recognize that it was needed, the public outcry about certain things, I'm very surprised at the lack of public outcry with yesterday's statements. So at the end of the day, I would like us to breed a level of respect for everyone. That is what I hope my tenure here will have achieved. We have determined that with 7 of us, all of us at one time here, it can be sometimes difficult if there's a lot of press. So we said at least every other week, ministers will show up, and we've made a schedule for that. We had ministers travel last week. You would notice we didn't have many. Many are back. However, you won't see everyone, even though it appeared that all would have been here today. It is so that the press gets an opportunity to ask questions. But I would really like us to think on what we are portraying to the public and the world. Because with social media, everything is portrayed to the world. We are fighting for our autonomy. We are fighting to say we are a sovereign country, but sometimes our behavior does not reflect that. And that is the responsibility of all of us. So that is a goal, and we are open for suggestions. And if there are any that you think that can be done as a press corps to improve the way our press briefings take place, feel free to do that. And we know it is the purview of the individual reporter to put the information in whatever manner they want in the public sphere. But I'm hoping that the public will sometimes just listen to the words coming from the mouths of the ministers and government and take them at value, because I think we all have one goal, which is to improve things on St. Martin. I hope I've answered your question, and I look forward to us being as constructive as possible and as forward-thinking as possible as we continue to build this nation. Thank you.
Thank you, Prime Minister Jacobs. Members of the media, this does bring us to the end of the question and answer session. Any further questions can be sent to the Minister's Cabinet in writing. Honorable Ministers of the Council, members of the media, radio listeners, and online viewers, this brings us to the end of the live Council of Ministers press briefing for today, Wednesday, October 6, 2021. For rebroadcast, tune into St. Martin Gov Radio via 107.9 FM, Telems, Tel TV Plus, the YouTube channel of the Government of St. Martin, the official Facebook page of the Government of St. Martin, and St. Martin Cable TV Channel 115. For video on demand, log on to the official government's YouTube channel. On behalf of the Department of Communication and the Government of St. Martin, I'm Relika Roach, and wishing you a pleasant day further.